Pablo Escobar waged war against an entire nation. No one defied him and survived. But there was one person he never moved against. Someone he spoke of with something no one believed he possessed: genuine respect. It was not a rival kingpin or a head of state. It was a woman. By the time Escobar sent his first shipment to America, she had already been running the cocaine trade for years. By the early 1980s, Pablo Escobar's grip on Medellin was measured not just in blood, but in hard numbers. His Medellin cartel moved 80 tons of cocaine each year, enough powder to blanket entire cities, enough money to rival Fortune 500 corporations. The U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration estimated annual revenues topping $7 billion, a flood of cash that seeped into banks, nightclubs, and the halls of government itself. Escobar's doctrine was simple: plata o plomo, silver or lead. Politicians, judges, and police faced a choice: accept a suitcase of cash or end up in a shallow grave. Entire branches of government bent to his will. Electoral campaigns were bankrolled, court cases vanished, and investigators who pressed too hard simply disappeared. The cartel's reach stretched from jungle airstrips in Antioquia to luxury condos on Miami Beach, with every link in the chain greased by fear or greed. No rival dared challenge Escobar openly. His lieutenants enforced loyalty with military precision, and a single order could unleash a wave of assassinations across 2 continents. In this world, to be noticed by Escobar meant you were dangerous or doomed. To earn his respect was almost unthinkable. Yet in the shadows, there was one name he spoke of with caution, and that name belonged to a woman. In the world of cocaine, chronology is everything. The myth says Escobar built the American pipeline, but the record tells a different story. In 1975, 3 years before Escobar's first major United States shipment, a police blotter in Medellin recorded a name that would haunt 2 continents: Griselda Blanco. That year, she ordered the murder of a rival in broad daylight, a killing that sent shockwaves through the city's underworld and signaled the rise of a new kind of trafficker. While Escobar was still consolidating power in Colombia, Blanco was already exporting chaos. Miami's early press clippings from the mid-1970s read like dispatches from a war zone, anonymous bodies, unexplained shootouts, and a single female suspect whose methods left even seasoned detectives unsettled. Her fingerprints were on the city before Escobar's product ever touched American soil. By the time Escobar's first confirmed cocaine shipment landed stateside in 1978, Blanco's operation had already established the blueprint, air routes, front companies, and a willingness to kill that set the tone for the decade ahead. The timeline isn't just a technicality. It's proof that Blanco wasn't following Escobar's lead. She was laying the tracks he would later ride to infamy. Before his empire, before the Medellin cartel became a household name, there was the Black Widow, moving faster, striking first, and rewriting the rules of the trade. Born in 1943, Griselda Blanco's earliest memories were shaped by the dirt streets and desperate poverty of Medellin's barrios. Survival was not a choice. It was a daily calculation. At 11, she orchestrated a kidnapping for ransom. By 13, police records listed her for theft and extortion. The lessons of the street were clear: trust no one, strike first, and never show weakness. By her late teens, Blanco had forged a passport and slipped into the United States. She arrived in New York with nothing but a hunger for power and a willingness to do what others wouldn't. The American dream for her was a blueprint for domination. She started with small-time hustles, shoplifting, scams, and petty smuggling, but quickly saw the limits of street-level crime. She wanted scale. She wanted control. Blanco studied the flow of people and goods, searching for cracks in the system. She saw opportunity in the skies. Commercial flights were watched, but private charters moved under the radar. She began recruiting couriers, mostly women, sometimes children, who could slip through customs with expertly packed suitcases. False bottoms, lead linings, and hidden pockets turned ordinary luggage into vessels of fortune. Each mule carried just enough to avoid suspicion, but together they formed a silent army. Charter planes traced invisible routes from Medellin to Miami, touching down on private airstrips or blending into the chaos of regional airports. Flight logs from the late 1970s show a steady rhythm: Friday night departures, Saturday morning arrivals, cargo unloaded before dawn. The money poured in. Blanco laundered her profits through Miami nightclubs, shell companies in Panama, and quick-turn real estate deals in Hialeah. Offshore accounts masked the origins of millions. She built a network that was disciplined, ruthless, and almost invisible. Every link was chosen for loyalty and desperation. Each courier knew the price of failure. By the time law enforcement caught on, Blanco's smuggling pipeline was moving tons of cocaine and washing hundreds of millions in cash each year. The system she created didn't just feed Miami's appetite for cocaine, it shaped the very rules of the game, setting the stage for a new kind of war. On a humid afternoon in July 1979, Miami's Dadeland Mall erupted in gunfire. Shoppers scattered as three men stepped from a van, automatic weapons drawn, spraying bullets across a crowded liquor store. 2 men died on the spot. 5 more were rushed to hospitals, some never fully recovering from their wounds. The parking lot was left streaked with blood and littered with shell casings, a scene that Miami police would later call the opening salvo of the city's cocaine wars. The attack wasn't random. Investigators quickly traced the gunman to Griselda Blanco's crew. Witnesses described the shooters as calm, methodical, and utterly unafraid of the chaos they unleashed. Police incident reports from that day list the victims by name and catalog the terror in chilling detail. Survivors described the sound of gunfire echoing through the mall, the confusion, and the sickening realization that Miami had become a battlefield. The Dadeland Mall massacre sent a clear message. Blanco would protect her empire at any cost. Her willingness to spill blood in public, in broad daylight, set her apart from every other trafficker operating in Miami. It was a level of violence that forced law enforcement to rethink their entire approach, and it didn't go unnoticed in Colombia. By 1984, the DEA had begun intercepting cartel communications. One wiretap captured a Medellin lieutenant quoting Escobar. "She moves cold-blooded. The Black Widow knows how to keep a shipment clean." Financial records seized years later revealed a $2 million transfer from Escobar's network to a Panamanian shell company tied to Blanco. These were not payments to a subordinate. They were the price of doing business with someone even Escobar preferred to keep as an ally, not an enemy. In the aftermath of the massacre, Miami's homicide rate soared. Reporters called it the cocaine cowboy era. But within cartel circles, the violence was more than headline fodder. It was proof that Blanco had set a new standard, one that even Pablo Escobar, for all his power, recognized and respected. In November 1985, the quiet before dawn in Miami shattered as federal agents stormed a string of safe houses. The operation, codenamed Cassandra, targeted Griselda Blanco's empire with surgical precision. Agents seized 1,200 kilograms of cocaine, enough to supply a city for months, and uncovered $7 million in bundled cash, stashed in hidden compartments and false-bottomed suitcases. 3 private jets, each registered to shell companies, were impounded on the tarmac. The inventory read like a kingpin's ledger: luxury homes, armored vehicles, and a paper trail of laundered millions stretching from Miami to Panama. The indictment was unambiguous. Blanco faced charges of conspiracy to manufacture, import, and distribute cocaine, along with multiple counts of second-degree murder tied to the violence that had plagued Miami's streets. With her most trusted lieutenants swept up in the raids, the network unraveled almost overnight. Dealers vanished, couriers turned informant. The Black Widow's grip on Miami loosened with every arrest and asset seizure. In federal court, Blanco accepted a plea agreement, 20 years in prison, a deal that spared her the death penalty but ended her reign. For law enforcement, it was a rare, decisive blow. The woman who had once dictated the rules of the cocaine trade now sat behind bars, her empire reduced to evidence bags and court exhibits. Miami's cocaine wars had lost their most notorious architect. On October 15, 2004, after nearly 2 decades behind bars, Griselda Blanco stepped out of federal prison for the last time. The U.S. government wasted no time. Within weeks, immigration officials put her on a plane and sent her back to Colombia, a country that had changed, but not forgotten her name. Medellin, once her hunting ground, had become her exile. She kept a low profile, living in a modest home and rarely venturing out in public. The fortune was gone. Her sons were dead or missing. Old allies had vanished, and the new generation of traffickers saw her as a relic from a bloodier era. Even so, rumors swirled that she still held secrets worth killing for. On September 3, 2012, Blanco's past caught up with her. 2 men on a motorcycle pulled up outside a butcher shop in southwest Medellin. A single shot from a 9mm pistol ended her life, an execution carried out in the same style she had once perfected. The Colombian forensic reports listed her age as 69. The press called it poetic justice. But behind the headlines, one fact lingered. Griselda Blanco died as she lived, alone, unrepentant, and haunted by violence she could never escape. In the shadows of power, respect is measured by fear and legacy. The methods Griselda Blanco unleashed, ruthless, calculating, unstoppable, still ripple through cartel culture today. As new players chase infamy, her ghost lingers, warning that in this world, true respect always carries a price. What price are we willing to ignore?